Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to get into part 1 of making this picture frame diorama. We're going to do all of the painting of the wall and the window pieces in this part. Let's get started. Alright, we're going to get started with some foam board. This is the material we're going to use for the base, and we're just measuring it out so it'll fit perfectly in the picture frame. Next, we've already 3D printed a piece for the frame of the window, so now we're just measuring out exactly on the wall that we want it so we can cut out a spot for it. Now, I didn't film it, but as I fit the window frame in, I put some putty just around the edges to smooth it out, the transition from the frame into the wall. You'll see it in this next shot here. I wasn't trying to be perfect with it. We're making a dirty, old, warped wall anyway, so you really don't have to be precise. So now I'm just using some masking tape to mask off the window frame here. As we paint the wall, we don't want any of that color getting on the window. For this, I'm just using a really cheap craft paint, putting a pretty heavy coat on with the airbrush. It's going to be the underlying layer beneath the paint cracks. Alright, now that the paint is dried, we're going to take some Elmer's glue. We're going to get a good amount on there and spread it horizontally. We're trying to be fairly quick with this as we don't want it to dry before we get the next layer of paint on, because this is how we're going to do the paint cracking. Usually the paint cracking will appear to group together in patterns and lines in the direction of the paint strokes, so that's why we're going horizontally here, but you can change it up however you like to get a different outcome. Also, a good note here is the thicker the paint, the larger the cracks will end up being. So you really need to experiment with your project to find the right amount. So now we're just going to mix up a nice gray color. We're going to use this again in the airbrush, and quickly because we don't want the glue to start drying yet. The idea here is to get a nice dry layer of paint on top of that glue, so as the glue dries, it expands and cracks the paint. One thing I like to do is once I have my paint layer, I continue to spray air over everything to continue to dry it even faster. And here only a couple minutes went by and you can tell the cracking is finished and dried and it looks pretty good. So just a note here, I really should have done this step before ever putting the window frame into the wall, but that's okay, we're going to work around it. So I've masked off the wall, and now I'm just taking a natural sponge and stippling on some paint, and then taking a paper towel to mess it up a little bit. And this is what's going to give the window frame a little bit of a natural wood look. So now I'm just taking a brown ink and going over top. Inks are really nice sometimes because they're usually translucent, which means they allow color and detail to shine through from underneath. So with this, we may need to do a couple of coats to get it dark enough, but we're basically just trying to blend this in with the detail underneath to make it look like it has a wood grain. So now it's dry, and hopefully you can see a little bit of that detail in the wood. We definitely have a little bit of overspray, and that's just from doing this step after we've already put the frame in the wall. But that's okay, we're going to come in and dirty up this wall anyway, so it's going to blend right in. So now we're going to work on the actual window panes. I 3D printed these as well. We're going to do the same step, just stippling on some brown paint to get that wood texture. Okay, so this is the ink that we're using to go over top of that. We're just lightly spraying it with the airbrush and giving it enough coats to blend in with the color underneath. And here's just a quick look at the detail on the window panes. And here they are, all dry and glued into the window frame in their final place. So next we're just going to take a tiny bit of dark paint and paint in those little handles at the bottom of the window just to add some contrast there. And now we're going to take some lighter silverish gray paint and go around the edges just to make it look like it's an actual little metal handhold. So next we're just taking a light brown wash and we're going to stipple it onto the wall this time just to add a dirty texture. You might notice I'm periodically stippling it onto the paper towel first. This is just to make sure I don't have too much paint on the sponge. If you have too much paint and you go right onto the wall, you're not going to be able to fix it without wiping all the paint off, and it's going to be a mess. So just use the paper towel to get the excess off and it should be good. That's it for part 1 of this project. Stay tuned for the next part as we finish it up. Thank you for watching Abandoned Miniatures. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe so I can continue to make more. Also, if you have any questions, throw them in the comments and I'll do my best to help. See you next time.